Hi, Job Club and Project Proven students. Welcome to our second video lesson exploring employment opportunities, employment skills, and community resources. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Toby Wendtland, recruiter at Chileda and Crosse. We are so excited to be able to speak to you today. I'm Dillon Mader, an instructor for Project Proven. And Colin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Colin Walsh, the Project Proven manager at Western.
Good. And Toby, I'm going to turn it to you. To start us off, would you mind introducing yourself and the organization that you work for, Chileda?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Toby Wendtland. I'm the recruiter over at Chileda. And if you're not familiar with Chileda, Chileda is a residential group home and school that serves students with autism spectrum disorders and other cognitive challenges, as well as extraordinary behavioral needs.
Awesome. Thank you. Now I'd like to ask a few questions just about work opportunities at Chileda and what someone needs to succeed there, both right at the start and long term. My first question is fairly basic. What jobs do you have open at Chileda right now?
Primarily right now we're hiring for our direct support professional positions, the DSP positions. We are actually hiring for full-time and part-time on all three shifts, first, second, and third, and that is an awake third shift.
So, and the shift hour times, what time do they run? Is that like
Sure.
11 to 7?
Yeah, there's a little bit of flexibility, so I'll go through it real quick. First shift is generally 7:30 to 3:30 or 8 to 4. Second shift begins at 3 p.m. and if it's full-time, it's 3 to 11. If it's part-time, it might be 3 to 9:15, 10:30, 11, something like that. We have a lot of students working that shift, so we try to be flexible with student schedules. And then third shift is either 12 till 8:30 in the morning, or else we do 4 10s on third shift, which is what most of our third shift employees do. And those are from 10:30 p.m. until 9 a.m.
Sure.
Nice.
So experience-wise, what would you say maybe an ideal applicant would have for experience, education? Let's start there. And then maybe some strengths that you find and you're looking for during an interview process?
Sure. As far as experience goes, that's a really interesting question because we really recruit all over to find people who have a good heart and really want to do this kind of work. Just for example, we have interviews this week. One interview is with someone who just recently got their GED. Another interview is with someone who is literally working on getting their master's degree done. And both of those people coming in may be excellent for the job because really it's working with our kids, being supportive of our kids and buying into what we're doing as an organization to support our kids. So we love certain kinds of experience. If you've got experience in the healthcare field, providing care for people, doing ADLs, those are great things. You know, if you've got a psych degree or, you know, some background in looking at those kinds of cognitive behavioral challenges, that's fantastic. But our training is really designed to take someone who has a willingness to learn, has the right heart to do it, and we can give you those tools and skills to be successful with our kids. So as far as experience goes, we love to see it. You don't necessarily have to have it. We're looking for good fits for the organization. And could you just go over the second part of that question again?
Yeah, so I mean, kind of along those lines. So maybe I don't have all the experience in the world, but some personality traits, some strengths that you find in your best employees?
Sure. Again, we see kind of a wide range, but we often see employees who have good self-care skills and students who are very understanding that our students are not in control of their behavior. So when there is a bad day at work, they're able to kind of let that kind of wash off of them. They're able to come back the next day with a smile on their face and do it again. So I would say, you know, perseverance is another good one too, just understanding that, yeah, our kids are not going to be perfect all the time. But we're helping them grow. So yeah, self-care skills, perseverance are real good things. I've seen introverts and extroverts, you know, be very successful at the job. It's just being able to interact with our students and be successful with them is really what we're looking for.
Awesome, thank you. I guess looking to employees who just started and to employees who have been there for a long time, what do those folks generally love most about the work at Chileda, especially if they're in that direct care role?
I just recently talked to some employees who had been there a while and were leaving, and you know, they're doing the exit interviews, and what they love the most and really what makes the job so appealing to them and what makes them miss it is that you see those gains with our kids. Sometimes we have students who come in and it's just like, man, I don't know what this kid's future is going to look like. He's really struggling. And then you see them make those gains and you're able to see them return to the home environment. You're able to see them return to a group home that's much closer to their family that works out better with that family situation. We don't have a situation where, hey guys, this week we're all going to learn the multiplication tables and knock that out and then move on to something else. We're often working on smaller goals, but I feel like we really celebrate those smaller goals a whole lot more than they do the bigger goals in the regular schools. And so yeah, people always tell me it's just, and in my own experience too, working with the kids, just you see a kid be successful and meet those goals, it's just worth it. And yeah, there was a lot of challenges along the way, but that even makes it better. You're just like, yeah, they got that. I'm so excited. We're taking that next step. That might mean they can leave Chileda now and really build those skills to go home. So yeah, that's definitely it.
So I guess on the flip side of that, did you find like a common thread with those exit interviews, what people thought or found the most challenging? Because I mean, as rewarding as the work is, I know there's probably very stressful.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest reason that people do leave the job is because they can't do the work. And I should really explain that a little bit better. It's working with the kids and dealing with the physicality of the kids sometimes. They do have acting out behaviors. And working at Chileda really is exposing yourself to a level of physical and emotional trauma. The students are struggling with these behaviors. We're working with them on these skills. And sometimes people really can't handle that. They think they can. In the pre-employment process, they say, I can handle a kid hitting me. That's fine. But until you're hit that first time, until you get called those pretty creative names by our kids sometimes when they're upset, you don't know how you're going to handle that. So certain people, I think it's not the job for them. And, maybe that's the easiest way I can say it. It's truly not a job for everybody. You have to have a special place in your heart for these kids and be able to take those behaviors and really understand that those aren't directed at you. But some people who can't separate that then struggle, and yeah, it's not the job for them.
This seems like a really good segue to our question about stress. So you touched on maybe some moments at Chileda where work can become very stressful, and you mentioned even the word trauma. I'm wondering what stress management techniques you would suggest that employees develop and or use on the job. Like what do successful employees do to handle those traumatic and stressful moments?
Well, I think what they do to handle those stressful moments is they rely on their support system. That might be a personal support system that they have at home. It also might be a support system that they have at Chileda. When you're working in that type of environment that is stressful sometimes, that tends to really bring people together, and you really get those fast friends pretty quickly here at Chileda. Where like, oh man, I gotta talk about this to somebody. So using those support systems really helps our staff out. As far as other skills, coming in, you should have some measure of self-care skills. If you have stressful situations in your lives and you're the kind of person who shuts down and just walks away from that, that's probably not the job again for you, is to work at Chileda. So to be able to take a deep breath, to be able to remind yourself, okay, this isn't directed at me, or to be able to just keep your calm until you can have a break. And you certainly can when you're working with the kids. If there's a point where you're dysregulated, we recognize that in our staff, and we send staff on breaks all the time. We're like, hey, why don't you take a little break here? We'll take it from here. We always have staff reconnect with the kids, but we also want staff to take care of themselves. Something we've done recently at Chileda is we have a shift debriefing after every single shift. It's an opportunity for the staff in that area, a classroom or a side of a house, to get together and just talk about how that shift went. Instead of going home and saying to yourself, man, at dinner, if we had just done this, everything would have been better, and then taking that home with you. Now we get together and we talk, and it's a safe environment to just, hey, everyone, who's got some ideas? Dinner didn't go that great. Well, I thought we could have done this. Or maybe there's a student who's struggling a little bit more than usual. What are some ideas that we can brainstorm to help this student out? It's just an opportunity to kind of get a few things off your chest, leave them at work, and then go home, and then just not have that stress weighing on you.
I think that's a great idea. I love that you guys are doing and it actually kind of segues into the next question, referencing communication. Can you kind of talk about how important communication, what different types of communication you're going to see when you're working at Chileda, you're going to have to use with not only your coworkers, but with the kids?
Yeah, communication is really, really important at Chileda, not just with our coworkers, but especially with the students. We have students who are traditionally verbal, students who are nonverbal, students who sign, students who have come up with their own version of sign language. We had a student who knew Mexican Sign Language a while back. So that was interesting because no one knew what he was saying. So we're always working with the students at the level they're at for their communication skills. And we're also, working on building new ones. But yeah, you have to be ready to adapt to where these kids are at and work with them on those communication skills. Certainly nonverbals are sometimes harder. You're looking to pick things up on the kids. They're not saying anything, but you can tell, like, well, this kid's in a really good mood, or this kid is not, he seems like he might be feeling sick today. So, you have to be a little bit adaptive working with our kids and understanding that all of our kids communicate differently. And then that communication with staff is really important as well. Just making sure everyone's on the same page, that we're supporting and helping each other out. Sometimes you can't say things in front of the students because it would be, frankly, rude or unprofessional, or it won't help the kids to say that thing out loud right then. So actually staff use a lot of sign language to communicate with each other. And sometimes our students are great at telling us exactly what they need. They don't say it politely. They'll say, shut up. But they do need it quiet. So we just can be quiet. And then that's when we switch over to sign language. We'll write out notes. We'll use picture communications, comic strip conversation type things. So just being adaptable and understanding that just not one way is going to work. We've got all kinds of different ways to communicate. We're going to try them all.
I can't help but think someone who's creative would also be like a really good fit in this role. Just like a creative problem solver, is the term that I keep thinking of. It's like I'm looking for a strength that would be great to have at Chileda, because what you're saying is, they're just, it's resourceful. It's there's a certain level of creativity on how you're going to do this communication, and it's very individualized. So how it works, like you said, for one child isn't going to work the same for the next person you deal with. So,
yeah, no, absolutely. We do a lot of redirections with our kids. When they start getting dysregulated, we're basically trying to distract them with something they're more interested in. And I've had staff tell me, like, they're at home or maybe they're in class and they think of this amazing redirection for this one kid and they're all excited about it. And then they work with that kid that night and they use it and it works. And they're all like pumping their fists and celebrating. And then the very next time they're like, I got this in my back pocket. And then it doesn't work. And it was just that once that redirection worked. So they put it in their back pocket, maybe a little deeper now, and now they got to come up with another one. So you're right. You do have to be creative. You have to be persistent and try different things. But yeah, a creative problem solver is, I would say, another great quality for someone to work at Chileda, because frankly, we will never figure the kids completely out. And when the kids do get better, they leave, and that's great. And then we get more kids who we have to, again, be creative problem solvers to help support them. The goal is not to eliminate all of our kids' behaviors. It's to give them the skills to manage those behaviors, to be in that less restrictive environment, which hopefully is an environment that works better for them and their family every time.
Thank you. Our second to last question, we're wondering if Chileda is a felon-friendly employer, or alternatively, what do justice-involved individuals need to know before they apply?
Sure. We are a friendly employer in that regard, with a caveat. There are certain convictions that we can't hire for. Mostly they are crimes against another person. And those are just things that the state, there's actually a website that has a list of all those felonies that we cannot hire for. So the state says we can't hire for those convictions, but anything that's not one of those convictions, we absolutely will consider for employment. Again, I gave that example earlier of, we have someone who's just finishing their GED and someone else who's working on a master's degree. When I'm recruiting for Chileda, when I'm looking at, how do we staff this agency, I'm looking for the best people, and those people come from all different walks of life. So we've certainly hired people with felonies in the past. I'm I can think of a number of people right now off the top of my head who have felonies who work at Chileda, and they're very successful with the kids. And that's something too, where I have that list and I've shared that list with you guys. So it's certainly something, if you want to check, we can always check an applicant. Okay, I'm sorry, you do have this conviction. We couldn't consider you for hiring, or we could, or there's even an appeal process if it's been a certain amount of time that we could look into it, which is something we've done before as well.
And I think maybe we'll try to share that link to that website, or to the, the state, the list of the convictions that would maybe disqualify someone.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a simple resource that, people can access and help them just get that question answered, am I eligible to work at Chileda? Yes or no, then by all means, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess kind of to wrap things up here, so I love what I've heard today. I'm watching this video. How do I apply at Chileda?
Sure, there's a number of ways you can apply. You can certainly go to our website, which is chileda.org. Basically, if you Google Chileda, we're the only thing that comes up. There's not a whole lot of Chiledas out there, so that's kind of nice. You can always swing by our main campus at 1825 Victory Street and pick up a paper app. Just be careful if you go to the building on Mormon Coulee that says Chileda, that is not our main campus, that's our training center. So you won't get any apps there. So come to the main campus. But really one of the best ways is just to contact me directly. If you guys could share my email address or contact information. You can also find that information on our website if you scroll down the employment page. But I often, well, not often, every time, I talk with applicants and really get into what the job involves and what we're looking for. I also help try to, figure out, is this person a good fit? Are we a good fit for that person? So that conversation is real important. So we can always start with that conversation to see if, even for the applicant, I think it's important too. Is this the right job for you? You might be excited by what you've heard, but we're going to get deeper into it and really talk about what that job is, what those expectations are, and if it's a great fit, then fantastic. If it's not, we want to help you find the best fit for you too. It's not always with us. So yeah, contacting me directly is a great way to get that ball rolling.
And I can vouch for Toby here on that. He will get back to you. There's been students that I have referred that you will call back, that same day, that next day at the latest. I mean, you've been great in that regard. So yes, Toby definitely walks the walk here when says that he will that he wants to reach out to them. And the other thing I wanted to mention, so just so we got the location clear, it's kind of, if you guys aren't familiar with Chileda, it's behind where it's like between where Family Video and La Crosse used to be, like Marco's Pizza, and then the Darylin Power back along the river, almost like kind of in between there. Yeah.
If you're taking Mormon Coulee south and say you're heading towards the south side of Walmart, there's that intersection with the DNR building, Marco's, because Family Video is gone now, and Burger King.
Yep.
You just take a right by the DNR building or by Marco's, and we're not even half a mile back there. That's the main campus where the students live and where most of the staff work. The building just further down on Mormon Coulee is our development and training center. That's where a lot of the trainings happen for Chileda. So like if you were hired at Chileda, your orientation would be over there. There's just not dedicated staff working there all the time. But we're just on the way to the south side. Just, find that intersection. We're a little tucked back there, but we're pretty easy to find once you know where it is.
Closest bus stop to Chileda, do you know where that would be located?
There's a bus stop that stops at Chileda. I believe it's on the Green Line, unless they changed that. So I do know a number of our employees use that bus line. Students and other people as well have told me they use that. So again, don't quote me on if it's the Green Line, but the bus route does stop right in front of Chileda.
Awesome.
Thanks. And one question that we maybe neglected to ask right away, what would what's your average starting wage for one of those direct care professional positions?
Sure. Starting wage is $12.50 an hour, and that's with no experience or any other credentials. Third shift though starts at a higher rate, so that's $12.50 an hour for first and second. It's $13.50 on weekends. There's a $1 differential, and it's time and a half on holidays. Third shift starts at $13 an hour, And then they also get that third shift differential, which comes out to be a little bit less than $1 an hour. So it's closer to 14, and then it'd be 15 on weekends as well. So, you know, things that people get a higher starting wage for usually are different degrees or certificates. So if you have like a current CNA, if you have an associate's in a human services related field or a bachelor's degree, those types of things generally. But most people, when they're coming in as a direct support professional, are going to start at that $12.50 an hour. What's nice about Chileda, though, is when I mentioned what we're hiring for with DSPs, we do that because we love to do internal promotions. We love to take our staff and reward them with those leadership positions. That's what I did when I came back to Chileda and worked my way up. So, you know, really, that's kind of how you get those higher wages as well, as you get those opportunities to rise up within the company. And the company does a great job of rewarding their internal employees with those promotions and giving them the training and skills to be successful in those roles.
I love that. Yeah, great opportunity for career advancement. Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was a perfect way to end our interview. Colin and I know I can speak for you too, Colin. We are so thankful to have you, Toby, as a partner of Project Proven. So thank you again for joining us today for the interview.
Oh, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And, you know, and I really support what you guys are doing as well. You guys are doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.